Hello everyone, I'm all about Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing you something Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. So, I know it has been quite a while since the last time I made a Transformers video, hasn't it? Aside from the Bumblebee trailer reaction, but that's about to change as I hope everyone, first off, I want to hope everyone had a great 4th of July yesterday, but after that, let's get onto this. Anyway, yesterday, Hasbro updated the official Transformers website to include bios, as well as character designs for all of the main characters of Transformers Cyberverse, which is the upcoming cartoon that will be replacing Transformers Robots in the Sky since it ended last year. Now, these designs are look like be very inspired by G1. Not all of them are so great, but there are a few that stand out to me. But we also, on top of this, we also have basically the full main cast of the show for at least the first season, which I'm really excited about. So all of these designs are mostly based off of G1, and each design character also has a little short description of them, which is written in character by Bumblebee. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna look over each character's design first before we look over their character descriptions. So let's go ahead and start with those. So for starters, let's start off with the main character of Transformers Cyberverse, who will be Bumblebee. Now, Bumblebee's appearance we've already known as it was shown in the very first teaser shot of Transformers Cyberverse that was shown several months ago. This time we get a better look at it. We see that his design is heavily inspired by G1 as opposed to his Prime incarnation. He still turns into a Camaro type sports car like he does in Prime and Robots in the Skies, but this time it's a lot more reminiscent of G1, similar with the fact that his helm is a lot like G1. He's even got his own G1 and animated style horns. His chest plate is his alt modes, windshield and front bumper. His shoulder pads make up his headlights, and even he still has his door wings that his Prime and Robots in the Skies appearances had. His in-show bio classifies him as the Courageous Scout. His bio really doesn't give anything special about him. It does have a little funny quiz. It really basically shows, basically helps reinforce the fact that what the show will be about. As stated back in the original description of Transformers Cyberverse, at least the first season of the show will be about Bumblebee working with Windblade to get his memories back after he somehow lost them. Anyways, that's pretty much all we can tell about Bumblebee. Now let's move on to our next Autobots. Our next Autobot is the one and only Optimus Prime, who is classified as the noble leader, of course, being the leader of the Autobots. His design here is very similar to Transformers G1, with the whole classic wind plate, the windshields of his truck mode being his chest, and then he has the exhaust pipes, and it's looking very G1, but at the same time, it also looks a lot like his IDW appearance as well. In this little card, we actually see him with his battle mask on, as opposed to his appearance in the original teaser pic, which had him without his battle mask, which shows that it will be retractable, unlike G1, which I am happy about. In the little description that Bumblebee gives of Optimus, he goes about how Bumblebee is Optimus's right-hand man in this continuity, as opposed to Ratchet in the Prime continuity, or Prowl in the IDW continuity, which is interesting considering that Bumblebee is Optimus' second-in-command in this continuity, just like it was sort of towards the end of Robots Skies, but I did not expect that, honestly, so I think that's pretty cool. And so Bumblebee describes Optimus as a legendary hero, so I have a feeling that maybe Optimus will be sort of sidelined in this show, or at least the first season. Maybe he'll appear in flashbacks that Bumblebee has, but other than that, I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of Optimus in Season 1. After that, we are moving on to Windblade, classified by Bumblebee as the resourceful Spitty City Speaker. Now, this is a reference to her role in the IDW comics and in the Machinima web series, like with Titan's Return and Power of the Primes and all that, which she is the city speaker for, in the comics at least, she's the city speaker for Metroplex, who was the city that all the Cybertronians live on Cybertron after it was revived at the end of the Chaos arc in the IDW comics, as she was the only Cybertron who was able to speak to Metroplex. So it seems as though she is carrying that role over to Cyberverse, unlike in Robots in the Skies, where she kind of was just an Autobot that came out of nowhere. I'm not sure if Cyberverse will be bringing up different planets and Cybertronian colonies like the idea comics did, like Velocitron and Caminus, but that's really it. In Bumblebee's bio of Windblade, he tells that Windblade is, well, she's really cool, but that she is very, like, protective of, her other Autobots. So to me, she seems like seems to be a lot more like RC in this continuity, as opposed to, where she was kind of like a cool, like a more relaxed, like but calmer female Sideswipe in Robots in Disguise. She kind of seems a mix of Sideswipe and RC in Cyberverse, and I'm looking for it. I do like her design. It's basically unlike her Robots in Disguise appearance, it was all black and red. It was actually more black with red highlights. This seems to be more in line with her IDW appearance, which it's primarily red with some black highlights and even more blue highlights, which I do like this appearance. It's a little too simplified, but I think it's okay. Next up is actually an Autobot that was leaked a couple months ago thanks to toys at the New York Toy Fair, and that is Grimlock. Now, Grimlock's design, I think, is kind of interesting. Grimlock's design, this one is based off his appearance in the G1 cartoon and the Fall of Cybertron games. But in this one, Grimlock actually doesn't have a visor or battle mask, which might be that he might have it might be retractable like Optimus is. But there's another interesting thing here about Grimlock, and that's in his bio. In the bio, Bumblebee states Grimlock is the legendary Dinobot King, as he is in most Transformers continuities, but in this one sense, Bumblebee calls Grimlock the smartest smoothing talking bot around, which is really interesting considering we've never had an actually intelligent Grimlock as far as I know. I think they might have had him in the, I think it was like in the 2001 Robots in Disguise, he was smart, but that doesn't really count. So it's interesting to see where an actually competent Grimlock. Now, unless we've had that kind of Grimlock before in the IDW comics, but we've never seen a Grimlock like that in the cartoons. He's either like a mindless drone like in the G1 continuity, or just an idiot like in the Robots in Disguise continuity. So to see possibly in actually sentient, competent Grimlock, I think it's going to be really cool. I really dig his appearance. I like how he has his dino claws covering his fists. I really do like his appearance, even though it's kind of weird to see him without a battle mask, but I think it's cool. Now, next up is our first Autobot that has not been leaked prior to this announcement, and the first design, which I am kind of unsure about, and that is Wheeljack. Now, Wheeljack is described in his bio as an enthusiastic inventor, so he's not the kind of younger, more badass wrecker ninja that he was in the Prime continuity. In this, he's more back to his mad scientist persona that he had in the G1 and IDW continuities. And his appearance is kind of weird, in which he doesn't have a battle mask this time, but instead a really weird, almost kind of beard with this really he's got wrinkles but under his optics, kind of like Prime Wheeljack, but he looks a lot older, kind of he gives me a real old crazy uncle vibe, crazy uncle inventor vibe. I do like his physical design though, with the sports car look. He has door wings just like Bumblebee. He's got his front wheels are his shoulder pads, and once just like Bumblebee, his chest plate is his windshield. I do think that the design is cool, more physical features and alt kibble, but as a part for his face, I'm just not sure about his face. It's really, really weird to see, but I don't know, maybe if I see it in actual animation, I'll get used to it. Next Autobot on our list is Ratchet. Now, unlike Transformers Prime and Robots in Disguise Ratchet, this Ratchet seems to be a lot younger than previous Ratchets. He's got instead of a bright white and orange scheme like he did in Prime, and then he shifted the orange to a bright red in Robots in Disguise, this seems to be a little bit dulled red with a dirty white, and he looks a lot younger than he did in Prime. In his bio, he is described as the selfless medic, and he's described as very loyal by Bumblebee and always takes care of others more than himself, which seems to be very out of character as opposed to how he is in Prime and Robots in Disguise, where he's kind of like a cranky old man. I really think that's interesting considering that we haven't had a Ratchet like this. I mean, I don't think ever. We haven't had ever in both in animated Prime and Robots in Disguise, and even a little bit mostly in the Bayverse movies too. He was this cranky mech most of the time. So to see him as his more younger, selfless character, I think that's pretty cool. His design though, I think, is kind of bland, a little too bland for my taste though. But I do like how his personality has changed. So maybe his personality will make up for his rather boring appearance. Now we're moving on to probably my favorite design of the Cyberverse, and that is with Hot Rod. Now, I was surprised. I did not expect to see Hot Rod in this as we haven't seen him in a cartoon since the actual G1 cartoon is Rodimus. We never saw him in... no, that's not true. We did see Rodimus was in animated, but we never saw him in Transformers Prime or Robots in Disguise. But his design in in Cyberverse looks amazing. He's described as a daring hero in his bio, and he says that he's always trying to pull off reckless stunts. Like, he's good friends with Bumblebee in this continuity, just like he was in The Last Knight. And he's basically the smokescreen of Transformers Cyberverse. His design is amazing. It's a great mix of his G1 appearance mixed in with more modern elements of his More Than Meet appearance in the IDW comics, specifically his appearance in More Meets the Eye and Lost Light. The thing that comes out to me the most of that is his little head crown. Well, normally it's yellow in More Meets the Eye. It's red now, but it still looks just like More Than Meets the Eye Hot Rod, especially with the door wings, or the spoiler wing on his back, and the exhaust pipes on his arms to act like flamethrowers. I absolutely love this design, and I can't wait to see Hot Rod in action in the show. Next up on our list is Prowl. Now, Prowl, I gotta say, just like Ratchet, his design is looking kind of bland, which is kind of a shame, because Prowl is probably my favorite character in the IDW comics, and his is been it described in his bio by Bumblebee as the military strategist, and this all in the little stuff Bumblebee tells about him, which he says that Prowl is a very serious mech. I really Prowl seems to be like he'll be a lot like his IDW appearance. Not the fact that he's basically where he's basically Autobot Starscream in the IDW comics, always betraying Optimus, but more in the sense that he's always really serious and gets stuff done. So to me, it seems like he'll be the Ratchet of Transformers Cyberverse, which I'm looking forward to. The only thing I just gotta say that Prowl's design looks kind of bland in my opinion. It's a little bit too blocky. I do like his little missile launchers or blasters he has on his shoulders, but I feel like his red head chevrons are kind of a little too big, and he's just too blocky for me. I'm not a real big fan of Prowl's design, but I'm curious to see what they do with him. And then we get to our final Autobot, who was also leaked in the Toy Fair alongside Grimlock, and that is Blur. In his description, Blur is described as a high-speed intelligence agent, just like he was in Transformers Animated. Also, as mentioned by Bumblebee in his bio of Blur, Blur is once again a fast talker, just like he was in G1 and Animated, unlike his Rescue Bots and Robots in the Skies appearance, where he actually talked normally. Now, for Blur's appearance, I do like the fact that his appearance is very similar to his IEW and G1 appearances, but his face seems like a little weird. His chin is his chin's too animated style for me, like without how big it is. His eyes are also a little too small. His eyes have too much space. I think they should have made his face a little smaller. He looks a little too old, Blur, in my opinion. Once again, he has that creepy uncle look that Wheeljack has, and I gotta say, I'm honestly not a fan of it compared to Blur's one of my favorite Transformers, and to see him look and say this, I'm not a big fan of it, if I'm honest, but who knows, maybe his personality will make up for it. Okay, and now we are moving on to the Decepticons of Transformers Cyberverse. So first is none other than Megatron. Now, Megatron's design was actually leaked back at the New York Toy Fair alongside Blur and Wheeljack. His design is heavily inspired by G1, nearly to the T. However, he looks a little more bland than G1 Megatron. And I gotta say, once again, I'm not a big fan of it. It's a little too bland for my taste. His head's too small. He doesn't have enough flair on his shoulders. He's described in his bio as a tyrannical leader who basically it's your stereotypical Megatron. He's not he's basically just wants to take over the world. It's I don't know, just seems kind of bland, really bland Megatron in my opinion. But after the Megatron, we have probably my second favorite design in Transformers Cyberverse, and that is Starscream. Now, Starscream's design is heavily inspired by his appearance in the IDW comics, most recently after the events of Till All Are One. His design here is very streamlined, similar to his Robots in the Skies appearance, but his head specifically and chest are very similar to Till All Are One, specifically with the little golden gem in his forehead, the little engines on his top of his head, as well as the twin engines on his chest and cockpit. It screams IDW comics to me, and I love this design of how sleek it is compared to other characters. So another thing, that's why I like Hot Rod so much too, because of how sleek it was. It's not as blocky as G1, and I really do appreciate that. He is described in his bio as the scheming second in command, so which means that he will still once again be typical Starscream, But who knows? Maybe they'll flesh his character out a bit more to make him more like Prime, or probably my favorite version of Starscream, IDW Starscream. I hope they decide to do some cool stuff with Starscream. Speaking of which, we're actually going to be moving into more Seekers now, who are surprising. I'll probably try to cover all the Seekers at once here. So the first Seeker on our list is Thundercracker. Now, if Starscream was based a lot like his appearance in the IDW comics, Thundercracker's appearance is based a lot like actual G1 Starscream instead of the IDW Starscream. Thundercracker's appearance, along with all the other Seekers, is heavily inspired by Starscream's G1 appearance, with this, especially in the head and the little wing things on his back. His, unlike G1 Thundercracker though, where he usually has a light blue color scheme with white and red with white highlights, in this one his whole body is a very dark blue with red highlights. Especially his optics are also red. I think, were they red? Usually, I think they're always red. His optics are always red. He's described in his bio as an elite Seeker, and Bumblebee mentions how he's always constantly, like, bragging about himself. So he seems to be a lot like he'll be basically the Decepticon equivalent of Sideswipe in Cyberverse, which I'm really interested in seeing, considering how, Thundercracker never really had a distinctive personality in the G1 cartoon. In the IDW comics, she was actually, like, really against fighting and kind of a pacifist. So, but to see him basically become a Sideswipe type character in Cyberverse is pretty interesting. So, while its design is kind of bland, I am excited to see how Thundercracker will act in Cyberverse. Next up on our Seeker list is out of nowhere Acid Storm. Now, for many of you may not know who Acid Storm is, but Acid Storm was a G1, like a background Seeker who was basically just like a green and purple recolor of Starscream. And his design shows here, which he has the exact same body type as Thundercracker, but instead his body is green and purple instead of blue and red. His description puts him as a menacing Seeker, and Bumblebee basically just gives him a rather generic description of his abilities, which kind of seems that Acid Storm would kind of be like a jobber. Basically, he'll be just like a stand-in bad guy. Maybe that'll be the bad guy, maybe like the first episode, and won't be that big of a threat. I'm surprised that they decided to go with Acid Storm instead of Skywarp, who is usually like the third Seeker of that group of him, Thundercracker, and Starscream. So I'm really interested to see what Acid Storm will be like in this, because he never really had a distinctive personality in any of the Transformers cartoons. This will be the definitive Acid Storm. Can't wait to see what he does. And then moving on to our final Seeker is Slipstream, the first of the two female Decepticons in Cyberverse, and the leader of the Seekers outside of Starscream. As in the Bumblebee's bio of her, she's described as a strategic Seeker, and she's essentially the Prowl of the Decepticons, in which she is a no-nonsense Decepticon who manages over the Seekers, Thundercracker, and Acid Storm, and Bumblebee even says how good of a leader she is. So it seems to me that she will butt heads a lot with Starscream. Her design is very similar to her appearance in Transformers Animated, with the pink and purple highlights, with pink and purple colors with the light blue highlights. I actually really dig Slipstream's design as opposed to Acid Storm and Thundercracker's. Hers fits a lot more than Acid Storm and Thundercracker's. Can't wait to see what they do with her. Our next character is actually a brand new Decepticon that's been created specifically for this show, and her name is Shadow Striker. Her design instantly looks to me like Transformers Animated Blitzwing with his cold personality, in which he had the blue face and the monocle visor thing in his left eye, I think. Shadow Striker's appearance looks very similar to that. She is described in her bio as a vengeful warrior. And to me at first, I thought she was going to be like the Decepticon equivalent of Wheeljack based on her appearance. Like, she looked like a stereotypical, like, German mad scientist, kind of. She mentions, Bumblebee mentions that, that she's like a really ferocious warrior. So she seems to actually like a female breakdown or Windblade of sorts. Or, well, Windblade is female, so like Decepticon Windblade, or maybe even a female breakdown, even from Transformers Prime. It's really interesting. I'm wondering like how Shadow Striker will play. I haven't seen her like her toy mode, so I don't know like if she's a Seeker or a grounder. Not very sure. Based on her like her chest piece here has like car headlights. I'm guessing she turns into a car. And it looks like her shoulder pads are her wheels. I'm really digging Shadow Striker's appearance, so I can't wait to see what they do with her. On to our next Decepticon, it is none other than Shockwave. Now, Shockwave's design seems to be a pretty, like, just a beefier version of his G1 appearance. He's got his little antenna things on his head are a lot more pointed upward as opposed to his G1 appearance, and his body just seems a lot bulkier than it usually does in G1, which I do like. It adds a bit more style to like his Transformers Prime appearance. I just like the little the mini eye he has on top of his regular face. A lot of people have been joking that that's actually his face, and then the bigger face is actually like his mouth maybe. But I actually do like some Cyberverse Shockwave's appearance. He is described in his bio as a twisted scientist, so basically he is the Decepticon equivalent of Wheeljack in this continuity, pretty much like he is in every other continuity. I thought Striker might have been that, but it looks like Shockwave will be it once again. And for our final Transformer reveal for the Transformers Cyberverse, is probably my third favorite design, and probably my second favorite, maybe third favorite Decepticon appearance, and that is Soundwave. Soundwave's appearance, unlike his Robots in Disguise and Prime appearances, where he was more based like sleeker and based off a stealth drone, he is now back to his traditional G1 appearance, but mixed in with some bits of his Prime aspects. Here, it seems to be a lot like his Robots in Disguise appearance as opposed to his Prime appearance, while his faceplay is very similar to his G1, and I'm more so thinking of his animated appearance with the battle mask and the face. He's got the little Decepticon spike similarly to his Transformers Prime appearance, and he's very bulked up similarly to his Robots in Disguise appearance, especially with but his colors with the blue and yellow very similar to his G1 appearance. I do think that Soundwave's design here is pretty cool. He's described as the calculating spy in his bio, but it doesn't mention anything about whether or not Soundwave will have his cassette tapes in this continuity like he does in G1 with Ravage, Rumble, Laserbeak, and so on. So we're not sure. I'm pretty sure he might have it. He'll have at least like one Minicon drone helping him out. But I'm curious to see how Soundwave is going to act in this. And so, those are our designs and character bios for all the main characters of Transformers Cyberverse. The upcoming Transformers cartoon now premiere sometime this year. Are you guys excited for the next chapter in Transformers cartoons? If you are, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.